Some GeForce Now launches you see coming a mile away. Big games, huge fan bases, blockbuster marketing. But others, yeah, sometimes you're scanning carrots at a checkout or drawing cards in a palace and wondering, how did we end up here? These are the top 12 biggest GeForce Now launches of 2025 so far, ranked by how many people played them on Steam at launch. We're starting with two unexpected hits before diving into the real heavyweights. Kicking off the list is Sultan's game, which hit just over 46,000 concurrent players on Steam, a surprising number for something this niche. You're a minister trapped in the court of a violent, unpredictable ruler, forced to draw cards each week that decide your fate. Bloodshed, betrayal, seduction, every draw is a new problem, and surviving means making some pretty grim decisions. It's part visual novel, part strategy game, and all drama. Definitely not your typical blockbuster, but clearly something about this dark palace intrigue resonated with tens of thousands of players. At number 11 is Supermarket Simulator, which peaked at over 51,000 concurrent players on Steam. And no, you're not imagining it. You run a small grocery store, scan products, restock shelves, manage prices, and hope no one runs off with your energy drinks. It sounds mundane, but there's something incredibly satisfying about it, and clearly a lot of people feel the same. One of the reasons you keep seeing simulator games added and why they keep climbing the charts is simple. People actually play them. These games may not dominate headlines, but they quietly rack up huge numbers. Supermarket Simulator went viral because it's easy to jump into, fun to upgrade, and just unpredictable enough to keep you hooked. You might be surprised to see Assassin's Creed Shadows this far down the list. Huge budget, a feudal Japan setting, two main characters. On paper, it's a guaranteed hit, but at launch it peaked at just over 64,000 concurrent players on Steam, which is solid but not huge for a game of this scale. The reaction was mixed. For every player loving the stealth and cinematic presentation, there were others, like me, left scratching their heads at some of the design decisions. It felt like a hybrid between Valhalla and Odyssey, but with deliberate choices that got in the way of the open world flow. You weren't just discouraged from cutting through forests or hills. The game actively steered you onto fixed paths, making a big world feel surprisingly narrow. A lot of players noticed it too. Beautiful landscapes that looked explorable were often just decoration. Shadows had its moments, no doubt, but for an open world game, it sure spent a lot of time telling you where not to go. A strong launch by the numbers, but definitely not the genre-defining entry Ubisoft seemed to be aiming for. Coming in at number 9 is Civilization 7, which hit a peak of just over 84,000 concurrent players on Steam. Not bad at all for a turn-based strategy game, but the reaction definitely mixed. Some long-time Civ fans were happy just to get a new entry. The core loop is still there, and the early game's smoother with better UI clarity and pacing. But a lot of players, especially on Steam, weren't impressed. At launch, the game landed with a mixed rating and complaints came in fast, missing features, clunky menus, some saying it felt like a step back. The UI was especially divisive, more console-like and not always helpful. That said, it's still Civ. It's still addictive, and it still eats entire evenings before you realise what's happened. So even if it didn't completely stick the landing, it was always going to be one of the biggest launches of the year, just maybe not the most loved. Cracking in at number 8 is inZOI, a South Korean life sim peaking at around 87,000 concurrent players on Steam. This isn't your standard sim style game. It pushes for photorealism, ray tracing and deep character systems. What really set it apart early on was the integration with NVIDIA Ace Generative AI. The Smart ZOI feature lets NPCs develop goals, remember past interactions and even speak their thoughts, powered by NVIDIA's small language model, bringing a new level of autonomy to in-game characters. It was featured in tech demos and streamed by gamers wanting to test both visuals and AI, making it a cloud and RTX showcase title. The result? A powerful, ambitious sim that doubled as a GPU and AI demo and clearly resonated despite some early bugs and mixed opinions. inZOI showed us life sims are still evolving. At number 7 is REMATCH, a 5v5 football game that peaked at just under 93,000 concurrent players on Steam. It's not your typical sports sim, no licensed teams, no overcomplicated menus, just tight controls, quick matches, and all about skill. It's fast, aggressive, and really rewards players who want something more hands-on than EAFC. It might not click with everyone, but if it does, you'll absolutely love it. It's the kind of game that doesn't explain itself too much. It expects you to learn by playing, and clearly a lot of people were more than happy to do just that. Clair Obscur Expedition 33, another serious Game of the Year contender. This turn-based RPG feels like stepping inside a living painting. Every frame is stunning, with a unique art style that blends hand-drawn and digital textures into something truly special. But it's not just eye candy. The tactical combat is deep and rewarding, demanding thoughtful planning and clever use of your team's abilities. The pacing is deliberate but never slow, with tight encounters that keep you on your toes. Critics have praised its polished storytelling and the way it manages to balance challenge without frustrating players. It's quickly building a dedicated fanbase, with many calling it one of the freshest and most engaging RPGs of the year. If you like strategy games that look as good as they play, Clair Obscur deserves a spot on your radar. Dune Awakening, the massive open-world survival game set on the harsh deserts of Arrakis. It peaked at around 189,000 concurrent players on Steam, a huge number for a survival game that's still shaping its world. Dune Awakening combines base building, resource management, and brutal PvP in one of sci-fi's most iconic settings. Sandworms, spice harvesting, and desert storms all add layers of intensity and unpredictability. The game's ambitious scale and constant updates have kept players coming back, and the community is growing fast. It's being talked about as a potential game changer in survival MMOs this year. Whether you want to build your fortress or hunt giant worms, Dune offers a sprawling, challenging experience you won't forget. Is Oblivion Remastered, which hit a peak of just over 216,000 concurrent players on Steam. It was arguably the worst kept secret in gaming. People have been whispering about it for over a year, and when it finally dropped, the nostalgia hit hard. This is still the same Oblivion under the hood. Clunky dialogue, floaty combat, and guards who can smell a crime from a mile away, but now with upgraded visuals, a modern UI, and support for high resolutions and frame rates. Some players jumped in for the first time, others came back just to punch mud crabs in 4K. It's not perfect, mods still carry a lot of the weight, but as remasters go, it was a crowd pleaser, a reminder that people will always return to Tamriel, especially if it's not ESO. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which peaked at just over 256,000 concurrent players on Steam. Impressive for a detailed, realistic medieval RPG. Building on the solid foundation of the first game, it doubles down on brutal melee combat, immersive historical accuracy, and a story-driven world. No hand-holding here. Players navigate complex quests, messy politics, and some of the most unforgiving combat in RPGs today. It's definitely not for everyone, but those who dive in tend to get deeply invested. Rough edges remain, but its ambition and immersion have earned it a strong place among 2025's top launches. Split Fiction peaked at about 259,000 concurrent players on Steam. Impressive for a game that's as much about story as it is about combat. It's a wild ride through twisted timelines and choices that actually matter. Stylish, fast, and full of surprises, it's been winning praise from both critics and players alike. If you want to see what all the buzz is about, Split Fiction is definitely one to check out. Sitting at number 1 is Monster Hunter Wilds, which had a jaw-dropping launch with 1.38 million concurrent players on Steam. But here's the thing, those numbers didn't last. As of now, the player count has plummeted to around 13,000 concurrent players, while Monster Hunter World is still pulling over 21,000 at the same time. Despite the hype and a massive marketing push, Wilds has been getting hammered with negative reviews, mainly due to performance problems and a lack of endgame content. It's a classic example of how big launch numbers matter until they don't. The game had all the buzz, but sustaining that player base is a whole different hunt. And there you have it, the top 12 biggest GeForce NOW launches of 2025 so far. From unexpected hits like Sultan's game and Supermarket Simulator to heavy hitters like Monster Hunter Wilds, it's been a wild ride. Numbers matter, but as we saw, they don't tell the full story. Which of these games did you jump into, or what do you think will be the next big cloud hit? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more cloud gaming updates. I'm Duncan from Cloudy. See you next time.